Welcome to A Fine Human, a podcast by yours truly, Alexandra Fine, the CEO and co-founder of a company called Dame. We sling vibes, and here on this podcast, we're going to be slinging vibes with amazing human beings and talking about everything from courage, curiosity, discomfort, and of course, sex. This is A Fine Human.
We're starting.
Yeah. Hey. Welcome to my relaunch podcast of A Fine Human. What?
Pew, pew, pew.
Pew. I'm so excited to have a friend and like a role model, somebody I really looked up to before I even like became friends with. And now get to call a friend, Latham Thomas. Yay! Latham Thomas is a renowned women's health expert, a Black maternal health advocate, entrepreneur, Ivy League professor, a best-selling author, a speaker, a visionary founder of Mama Glow, a leading global maternal health and education platform, and the Mama Glow Foundation, a nonprofit focused on reproductive health and justice. And you're doing a new meditation audio program called Peaceful Parenting, Mindful Parenting for Pregnancy. Is that right?
Yeah. And Harmony at Home on Simon & Schuster Audio.
Really? Wait, I want to know more about that. I feel like we're always supposed to do that part at the end, but we're going to start that at the beginning. Wait. So it's like an audio series?
Yeah, so it's a meditation audiobook essentially with Simon & Schuster Audio. It's 5.5 hours of mindfulness, meditation, affirmations, and really taking people from pregnancy, early fertility, pregnancy, birth, and beyond.
Because I feel like the beyond part to me is really, I was so focused on birth, on labor, you get, it's like on that one moment, but really that's just the beginning.
It is.
So I think it makes so much sense to have like a meditation program that really kind of goes through the whole thing. I didn't even consider fertility too. Oh,
it's that time.
It is that time.
You just need to feel supported. And I think like with the work that I was doing for decades of supporting people along their pathway, it was just like a natural, sort of transition to add something like this to the repertoire where people could have a resource, because if I can't be with everybody, which I can't be with everyone, it's a way to show up and be sort of like a hand-holding presence and allow them to feel my pillow voice next to them. Yeah.
When you're in it, you have the pillow voice. There's other voices.
There are other voices.
What are your other voices?
Well, I just really use like a more relaxed, register when I'm speaking, so the tone is really low to kind of keep people in a state of relaxation, and also to cultivate calm.
Yeah.
Parents really stress. It's a tough time.
It is a tough time, and I feel like labor, just having somebody there that's reassuring you too in that calm voice that things are okay, as so powerful and so important. In fact, I feel like you've also talked about how being a doula is so much more than birthing, and about like how it's about pleasure and power.
Yes.
Can you tell me, like, what do you mean when you talk about it being about power? Like, what is the role of a doula?
Well, I think first starting for folks who may or may not be familiar, a doula is a non-clinical care provider that offers emotional support, physical support, education, advocacy tools, right, to ensure that you can like navigate the process. If you have a partner present, they're there to support your partner as well. And be like a cheerleader, for your birth experience. I like to call it, one of my clients says it's like having a producer for your birth, right? So if you think about like wedding planning and like all that goes into that, like making sure that there's someone who's protecting your needs and your desires. And how I think about it as well, it's like having someone who really is invested in the memory of the birth, right? And how you remember the birth. And so a lot of what we do is just ensure that people have the best experience possible given whatever circumstances they're facing, and also help them to navigate the challenges that arise along the way.
I absolutely love the idea of you, the steward of the memory. That makes so much sense to me. That is it's such a beautiful way of thinking about it. And I know you also do a lot of work specifically for Black maternal health. Why is that so important? Why do we need that?
Well, I mean, being a Black woman myself and having had a really beautiful birthing experience, I birthed with midwives in a place called Elizabeth Seton Childbearing Center on 14th Street, right next door. People were outside, right next door to Up and Down the Darby and what was mostly known as Nell's. And so when I went to the birth center, I was like, oh, this is like next to the nightclub I used to hang out at. So now my son thinks he's born in a nightclub and he turned to be a DJ, so it's like so weird. But it was a really great place to be because you learned about self-advocacy, you had bodily autonomy in that space and sovereignty in the experience. And leaving that and seeing sort of the trajectory of Black maternal health being on a 25-year increase in terms of Black maternal deaths in this country, really looking at a trajectory where
it's increasing.
And it hasn't changed really since the Civil War, right? So I think for most people, when they hear that, they don't understand that we're really facing what we would call a state of emergency in our community when we look at these death rates and really also the near misses, right? Because people are impacted by maternal morbidity. And so when we have these deaths in our community, because we're matrilineal, it really actually destroys the architecture of our communities. And it makes it so that we also lose economic power. We also lose memories. We lose this through line of connectivity of our community when a mother dies. And so much of our work is really focused on examining like how we get to a place where like we have a near miss or someone's life is lost, and then also how we prevent it. And we know that of the deaths that we see, 60% are preventable, which means that like we're failing, right? Yeah. And so a lot of what we're trying to do, like in our work and what we do in coalition with other people who are also on the front lines, is make impact. And so we do this through doula education and advancement, doula navigation and care navigation in hospital, home settings, as well as birth centers. It's making sure that people who are also underserved or underestimated populations and folks who are Medicaid eligible have access to doula services. It's making sure that doulas have a thriving wage so they can continue to do the work in their communities. And it's also really looking at like policy and advocacy and ensuring that we have really the best policies in place to support what we're trying to advance, which is, better maternal health outcomes.
Are there any policies right now or that are, I don't want to say I wanted to originally be like, are there any policies you're really excited about that you want to advocate for? But I feel like it's probably policies that we're trying to protect right now versus push forward. And I'm curious to know, like, from from reproductive health, like what is happening in the world right now. And then we're going to try and make it happier.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's an interesting place to be right now because we're in a place where there's so many draconian laws and policies in place to prevent women from having control over their own bodies, right? And we actually don't have any legislation on the books that does that to men. And so for people who are navigating the world with a uterus, at any juncture along the reproductive life course, you're under attack.
Yeah.
And so when you have your first period, we don't support people. Obviously, when people are pregnant, they don't get support. When they go through abortion or loss, there's no support. In postpartum, there's no support. In menopause, there's no support, right? And we actively create hurdles to prevent access to care at every single one of those intervals as well, right? And so when we think about the challenges, we look at it through a lens of reproductive justice. And that is the principle of the right to have a child, the right not to have a child, the right to raise that child should you choose to have one in safety, dignity, and thriving community, and the right to bodily autonomy and sovereignty, right? And so that framework is how we really look at what's happening in the world and how we can like tackle it. And it also looks at the conversation from a broader lens, because we're not just talking about protecting the right to abortion. We are asking for people to be able to have the right to choose how they navigate their health care, because abortion is health care. Abortion is also birth, right? And so we have to acknowledge that after someone also has an abortion, like that we discard them. And culturally, we need to support people better and ensure that they have aftercare needs met and that they can transition back into their lives feeling safety and dignity.
Yeah. I used to work on in Planned Parenthood, and I was on the abortion floor, and I always kind of felt like there was like this minimizing of abortion for political reasons, right? Like this, like language I was really encouraged to use was pregnancy tissue. So women would say, oh, is, you know, questions about their baby, that's usually the language they would say. And then I'd be like, oh, your pregnancy tissue, your pregnancy tissue. I always felt like, I understand politically, you know, like that is where the debate circles around life, and that, you know, but there's this loss. It is a birth, and it should be supported. And because of the shame, because of the policy, it just makes it even more traumatic to like have to go through that experience, and then like feel like you can't tell somebody after, or feel like you're not supposed to feel that way because it's not a life. Or I don't know, that was always really interesting and challenging for me about the way like that policy kind of like, I think, or not policy, the way politics shaped our language to benefit us, but also I think was hurting us too in some weird way.
I mean, I think it's definitely something to think about case by case, right? Like a developing pregnancy, that language I think feels more removed for some people than like if you're talking about a baby.
Look, I was talking about people were 6 weeks, 7 weeks, so it was really early.
Yeah, so that's not even, we're talking about like pre-embryonic, you know, tissue, right?
Yes.
So we're not even talking about an embryo yet. We're talking about like the pre-embryonic phase versus the embryonic and then the fetal phase of development. And so the pre-embryonic phase is really developing tissue, right? Like rapid cell division. And so, it's just really, you are really talking about tissue, right?
Yeah.
And so when you have that conversation, I think it's always important to frame language scientifically, but also appropriately, you know, to ensure that people are empowered with the language instead of feeling like they're saying something that they don't necessarily mean, right? But at the same time, I think you honor where someone is in their process. And I think some people come to abortion through ambivalence, you know, and they don't know. And some people are really matter of fact. And some people, there's like no emotion. Like they're so resolute in their choice and they can like go to work the next day and they're fine. Yeah. Right? Everybody's different. Yeah. And everybody's needs for like why they, you know, take this pathway are different, and it's also their business and their choice, right? Yeah. And so I think that so much of what we need to be learning as a society is to mind our freaking business, and also to let women and individuals, you know, who are going this pathway to make those choices with their physicians. Because what's happening now is that you have physicians who are terrified to provide abortion care, who are terrified of being sued or being prosecuted, but being jailed, being harmed. Literally, like for the safety of their lives, they feel under threat, right? Also, we know that many people are not going to go the OB-GYN path for education. So you'll see less doctors and less doctors going to places where they need this type of care most, right? So we're going to see a downshift in the number of physicians available, and also we'll see more maternity care deserts as a result of this. We'll see also like this shift because they're now doing Medicaid cuts. That's going to impact how many people can actually access Medicaid care. and those people and what their actual birth outcomes look like, you know? So all of this is really interconnected, right?
Yeah. And so interesting, because on the one hand, I feel like people need to mind their own business, and I just also want more stories out there, because you hear these like one narrative. There are so many reasons.
Oh, there's lots of stories.
There's so many stories. And I don't know, getting to really experience them, I was like, man, this shatters so much of what people think are happening and assumptions people make. I do feel like, though, what's really interesting about both of our works is that it's both so
grounded in pleasure also.
Yes. It's like on the one side, there's like trauma, and right on the other side of that experience, there is joy and there is pleasure. And you don't, I mean, I didn't mean to say like, not that you always have both. Sometimes in life we get blessed and we don't ever experience the bad side. But that both birth and sex are like these portals to an experience that can, so much can happen, and it is so powerful.
Yeah.
And it's not good or bad, it's just powerful, and we need to make sure as humans we are like cultivating it and shaping it and supporting other people with the knowledge we have, so that they can have positive experiences, which is what like doulas and midwives have been doing for centuries.
Since the beginning of time.
It is wild to think about like the histories of doulas, and like, you know, I'm reading The Red Tent. Did you read The Red Tent?
I know The Red Tent.
So The Red Tent is about women in biblical times, and in this book many of them are midwives, and it talks a lot about midwives and the power of like women in community in that moment is so far away now. I didn't see any of my friends when I, you know, like,
I think it's just maybe transformed.
it's I guess because to your, it's there. It's there.
There are still the women who are called to do the work in community, in underground, in ways that are clandestine and in darkness, veiled, right? I think that's work is still happening. You know, how we did gather and go into the veil together, the ways that we supported each other while bleeding, the ways that we support each other while birthing, and then also the people who we cultivated community with who showed up during these times. That was all within our village keeping, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that we've evolved to what feels like devolution, right? It feels like we're moving away from obviously so many ways that feel really human to sort of support a capitalist kind of like agenda. We move away from this community women helping women model. We move away from a design that like really supports, you know, our unique experiences as human beings, and we move towards more of a mechanized and you know, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of like this. It's less tender, less touch, right?
Yeah, it's like more mechanical, robotic. It feels very like this is the time we go to work, and this time there's no flow often.
And soul and all this stuff is missing from how we're doing things these days, right? But birth is one of these amazing equalizers, right? It does level us. It can bottom us out. It can really be such a tremendous teacher, because what birth avails for you is medicine, right? Like it takes you on a journey, and what we understand about the hero's journey is so much. If any of us have watched Disney movies, any movie you watch, right, is based on the arc of a heroine's journey. And what's interesting about it is that nobody ever talks about birth being that journey.
I have never considered. It is such a journey. It's such a hero's journey.
That's the hero's journey. It is a symbolic rite of passage, right, that every hero goes on, and we all connect with that experience, but we totally separate birth from that. But birth is that ultimate journey. It is the symbolic separation from your current state of where you are, your current station in life, right? Moving from one station to the next, moving into like sort of a preliminal phase into like a liminal where you separate from your body, separate from, you know, this aspect of self, and you shed your ego and you become this next version of yourself, right? And then on the other side, you're born renewed, you know, you're a new version of yourself and you're born into motherhood or parenthood. And it's like how we see, you know, a caterpillar who is eating and then enters into a chrysalis and then symbolically but also physically dissolves.
Yeah.
Right. And then emerges as a butterfly, right? After it goes into the chrysalis, and then if it goes into a cocoon, it becomes a moth.
I mean, I just love too this idea, like, you know, the birth, you know, it's not just birthing of your child, but the birthing of yourself into like a new version. Because even too, like, I remember thinking like, oh, for my second, it's like, I've already transitioned. It's a transition again. It's still, it became a new person, and I almost like did not honor it the same way as I did that first time, because this first time it's like, oh, I'm not a mom, like binary to not a mom to mom, and like you go from mom to mom, but it's still, it was a big transition.
And emotional transition. There's, I mean, like everything about you changes. You're like neurologically you become like rewired, right? Your brain changes, the grooves in your brain change to accommodate pregnancy, and also to prepare you to bond with a human you have not even met yet.
That was hard for me. Was it hard for you? Did you find that
the transition? I had support, so I had family come. The transition into motherhood wasn't like as much of a challenge. What it was the support, like what I envisioned of having of support that was not available. And so what I think that a lot of people don't realize is that human beings evolved in community, and so the expectation of a birthing individual is to be supported. Like, so it's not it's not ego, it's not like, it's actually a primal expectation, right? It's part of your primal template that unfolds that expects this, right? Just like a competent newborn expects to breastfeed, a competent newborn expects to be held, right?
Yes.
And so this is similar in, you know, what we expect when we birth. Like, we expect to be born into community as we mother, that people are going to show up and rub our feet and feed us and like make sure to draw a bath for us and not leave us alone. Because the way that we care for babies, we should be caring for new parents, right? And so we would never leave a baby alone. We would keep them swaddled. We would feed them. We would change them. We would hold them, right? So you're meant to feed a new mother. You need to change and support like anything that's happening in terms of recovery needs, right? So changing, you know, out dressings, changing out like the pads.
What would that even look like right now? I still feel like, because we do that now, and it's still like in your home, right? Like we still have like some people.
Yeah, but like you have postpartum doulas, you have nurses,
there was like
you
a
have
center.
communities. There are centers you can go, right? Like, so Borum was like a really amazing center, and now they have it like that you can go do it at home. Postpartum doulas do this. We do this service with postpartum doulas, right? That they come in and they do the swaddling that parents need. But really, it's like,
I love the swaddling that the parents need, you know? Like,
it's critical. But I think the other piece is that, you know, we as a society have really forgotten how to caregive because we built systems against caregiving in this country. So people don't know what to do when someone has a loss, when somebody has a baby.
There's no value in learning. I mean, there's so much value, but society doesn't value.
Because we don't value women's work at the home.
It is also, that's been a really, I think, hard part of being a mom too, a working mom, and then, you know, you're paying somebody else to do the job that like, and you're not. But
like, by the way, if you did it, you wouldn't get paid, but you can pay somebody else to do it. How does that work?
And then you just like know I feel myself being part of that system that devalues that work. And like,
that's why marriage is such a farce for women.
That's why they make you watch all those Disney movies when you're younger.
Because they're like,
you're not really like this party.
It's a scam.
It's a scam.
Marriage is a scam.
Marriage is a little bit of a scam, guys.
It's a real scam.
My husband.
Let me correct it. Marriage in the opposite sex framework is a scam. Marriage in the
like
same sex,
heterosexual.
in the heterosexual framework, it is a scam.
I also think it doesn't need.
It's not a scam for same sex. It's different, but it is a scam for women to marry men
in this society. And like, I think
because you do not get any of the things that they're telling you in the Disney movies, but actually it's more work. And women actually die earlier. They get heart disease, all kinds of things.
When they're married.
Yes, because and men actually multiples more. They do better on every single category because they're married. Because guess what? They have a built-in freaking maid.
Did you see there was like a study of like older men and older women, and they like asked like who are single, like, are you interested in like having a significant other? Are you interested in living? And like the men were like, the women were like, I would date somebody, but I would not ever let a man live in this house ever again, or like live with a man.
They want their feet.
They're like, I don't want to clean up after them. And the men are like, please, I would love
to be married.
Yes. And I think that that's really interesting. And it's so, and then I also think too, like I have definitely fallen into like, I think like the millennial mom trap of really, trying to do it all. Because now that's even harder. Not only like,
is that millennial or is that Gen X?
I think it's probably both of us,
I feel like Gen X was like doing it all, and then millennials taught us not to. I think the millennials have taught us to like do self-care.
Gen Z's like, stop working. And I'm like,
Gen Z
maybe
is like,
you're right.
Gen Z is on some next level. I don't know what alphas are gonna be doing, but Gen Z is on next level. Gen Z is.
How do you manage, like, especially like, you are Joy. I feel like when you walk into a room, like you really do have like such a contagious energy. How do you balance your piece? Like when you've just like, so much of what you were just talking about too is about like kind of the ways we have, I think you used like de-evolved, right? And like stop having this, and then you have a business.
Yeah, sure.
How do you protect your peace? How did you have like good boundaries? Like
I try to have good boundaries. I like try to take my weekends, so that's just like family and my beloved, just like keep that time sacred. In the evenings, definitely, just logging out, not being in the world. Like, I know people really like social and think like it's fun to scroll. To me, it's a lot of mental exertion goes into just scrolling even, right? So I don't really go on social media. I do post up and then I leave, but I tend to not go on social media. And phone fasting is a big thing for me. I just keep my phone off, and unless I have to like really be texting or phone calling because something's happening during the day. When I'm with my staff during the day, I don't need to be on my phone. So like my phone's away. And so I just try to be present. And then I really do this practice of like really listening to like the needs of my body. And that has taught me how to anticipate the needs of others that I serve. Because if you listen to your body, you can really modulate your actions around what you need. And then when other people need things, you can intuit what it is. And so for me, it's like, oh, at this moment, I'm thirsty. Okay, cool, let me drink water. Oh, at this moment, I am finding that I'm having a hard time focusing. Maybe I need to take a walk. Or, oh, I feel like, some anxiety, let me go move my body. So there's all these ways that I just check in, and I'm like, I just got
thirsty, and I really started to feel like I needed to like move my body.
Right?
And you want to know what else? I'm hot.
You're hot.
I'm hot.
And so you got to respond to that.
I'm
so you
hot.
take this off, right? But it's like this. We have to just check in. So for me, it's like that check-in is the self-care, that moment-to-moment check-in. And then, it's creating boundaries around certain things, like knowing that I want this to be a sacred time, or I want this to be, like, I used to be so terrible about putting like a vacation on the calendar. It was a contention in my marriage at one point. And I've gotten so much better now that's like, yep, this is way in advance, and here's a calendar, and here's how we're going to keep track. And that to me feels like, something that I can be more proud of now, of really being intentional about making space that's like outside of like work, because you can get consumed, especially when you love what you're doing, like you love what you do too. So it's like you can be consumed to where you're at dinner and you're only talking about work or whatever. And it's like sometimes you have to remove, like contain some of those conversations and activities to just, this is like, I'm gonna spend 20 minutes on this or 11 minutes and then we're talking about something else.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing I think is really helpful is getting the right support in place, like having the right team members, having people who can anticipate your needs also. Like if you know that I know I'm not good at certain things, and so I hire people who are better.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, girl, I'm gonna get this wrong every single time.
Yeah.
So I need you to do it.
I think I'm like pretty good at knowing what I'm not great at, but I think it's really hard. It was really hard for me, and I've gotten better at being like, oh no, you need to meet my needs. I think,
Being able to stand up for that, yeah.
I wanted to be a good boss, I wanted to be like a
friend.
I guess like a friend, but I knew I was gonna have to be a leader. I had a sense like when I got into this, I was like, I want to be a leader, and I want to be able to I know I'm gonna have to make tough calls, and like, I think I can do this better than like my father, figuratively, but sort of like actually my father, but not really, just actually my father, dad, in case you're listening to this. But like, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to, I'm the eldest daughter, so super eldest daughtery.
Birth order.
And then though, like I struggled to realize it's okay for me, like I need my team to work with me.
Yeah, and meet your needs.
And meet my needs. And since I'm kind of at the center and working with everybody, it's like, it's valid and okay for me to ask all, these people to do things my way a little bit to some extent, versus like me trying to kind of bend. I was so much more people pleasing as a boss than I'd ever been in my whole entire life.
Yeah, you gotta not be doing that.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because it was new for me, because I think there was something about the power dynamic that made me people please in a way that like didn't show up for me.
And you can find that even when you're like this, people do not appreciate the fact that you go beyond to do nice things. Like I remember being like learning the lesson of people not appreciating, and also getting really used to a certain type of interaction and an expectation from you that leads to resentment. And also, what's the other word? When people feel entitlement, right? And I'm like, wow, like when you notice how you do so much for certain people and then they feel entitled, and learning that and seeing that like, oh wait, I don't actually have to give this much of myself, and this is actually harmful to me, and it's not appreciated. Right. And so I learned to like pull back a little bit from the ways that I was inclined to be, so that I could like create a little barrier of protection and then pour that energy into like other things. So an example is like, I'm somebody who's like really into gift giving and really into, like,
I'm the terrible gift giver.
I'm so into it.
I'm like the worst, just in our friendship, just so you know.
But you always give me gifts.
Well, that's because you come and you want a specific gift, and I have a lot of those gifts, Latham. I do. I actually, but outside of that, I feel like I always. It's an interesting. Go on though. You're really great at giving gifts. And you love it.
And then people don't reciprocate it, or they don't like. Or, maybe I'll have like this idea that like, oh, they're gonna get so excited.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not as much. I'm like, oh. And so then I learn, well, that's not their like love language, right?
Yeah.
Like that might be mine.
Yeah.
And so I just say, okay, cool. That's a good, information, a lesson learned. So I could just,
redirect.
Redirect. And then there's people who in my life who love it. And so I'm like, let me pour that into them. And so it's kind of like just figuring out where things work best. And also seeing how, the support, within the team, also understanding, how to, bring out the best in people.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I learned in leadership too. Like how to sit with someone, really like track their skill sets, and then build their role around those skills. And so sometimes people come in and they come in for one thing, and then I ended up putting them on a different team altogether because of like skills that I was able to see in them and strengths I was able to see over working over a period of time. And so that's another thing that I feel like is helpful.
It's interesting because earlier when you were talking about like, checking in with yourself and how that's helped you get better at checking in with other people and like building in like just more empathy into your skill set. I'm thinking doula the whole time. Do you know what I mean? But also like, wow, probably just like as a leader, that's also really helpful.
It's like really helpful.
What else have
leadership skills.
Has there been anything like from being a doula that has like been really helpful in management and in leadership?
Yeah, like communication.
Communicate. Okay, yeah. Is there like?
Yeah, just like being able to communicate, especially situations where it's difficult, which you might have to communicate to someone, or if they are the object or reason for the communication that's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
So having counseling techniques. So one of the counseling techniques that we teach, which I love, it's super simple. It's a 3-part, I would say, process. And the first part is that you start with the thing that happened, like, so the truth, right?
Truth, yeah.
Observation. Right? How it tangibly impacts your life, and then how it makes you feel. And so you don't start with like, I feel this, or I'm upset about this. It's
You were late.
It's it impacted my day in this capacity, and it made me feel right. And so that is like one of the things we start with to create that bridge of listening and awareness, but also because if you're going to be in dialogue with people that you have to maintain relationships with, you have to learn how to communicate.
Does that also hold up though, like in stressful birthing moments when, like, I don't know, I'm gonna like make up scenarios, like there's a doctor that wants to take over, or I don't know what happens. Like,
Yeah, lots of times things happen that are challenging and not always in the moment.
You can't be like,
address it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to address it after the moment, right? And so I've noticed that too, like with some physicians where we've had to, talk to them, and I talk to them after, and I'm like, hey, can we have a chat? Or if I have their phone number, I might hit them up after and be like, let's talk about like how that birth went for both of us, right?
Yeah.
And so, and there's also other pathways too, like there are folks who are on the floor, or sometimes think people who you can talk to that are part of the, patient experience. It's just really a matter of, and patient advocates as well. But I think it's a matter of understanding also that, like, it's not about us. Like, It's not about me.
Yeah.
And so I can set aside my ego for someone's experience.
Yeah.
And then I can also address, the harm, afterwards. Particularly because you don't want to upset what's happening with the client. Now, there are instances, obviously, where things have to be addressed right away. But most of the time, there are things that you can, navigate, and I always create these shields of protection around people and create a bubble to where when people enter, they're entering into a veil, right? And so I have it where like a physician or a nurse or someone might walk in, and we have like really low candlelight, and we have really good music going, and then there's a diffuser, and they're like, is there a seance happening? I'm like, yes.
You make them intent,
but they come in and they're like, oh, hi. And so they're already talking with a lower voice, or they're already like a little bit more intentional. And to me, this is how we create that, bubble around the community that are birthing. And then we also include all the caregivers in that. And so to me, it's like, when you bring soft power, you asked about power in the beginning, it's soft power that doulas really wield, right? It's not about being forceful. It's about weaving and undulating and, like moving like water, being fluid, right? But also water is so powerful, right? It can take any shape. It can fill this glass, right? But also
carve through.
It can sink a ship. And so we want to be soft, right?
Yeah.
When we're addressing, but we also want to be able to bring our most powerful version to the table.
I want to take a class on soft power with you.
Yeah, soft power.
Soft power. This is the time where we talk about sex into the microphones that are not connected to anything. Sex. So, how's your sex?
It's amazing.
Yeah?
Oh my God.
Are you having good sex?
It's good.
That's great. Wait,
Excellent.
Oh, that is so lovely to hear.
Yeah, it is.
And now, like, what do you think is the relationship between sex and being and all of your other work? Like, how do you connect?
I think it's all connected because it's creative power, right? I think sex is like creative power, it's sensual power, it's life force energy moving through you, and also, in Tantra they describe female orgasm as an organizing force of the universe.
Oh.
Right? An organizing force, meaning that female orgasm literally sets things into order.
I mean, it makes sense.
Doesn't it?
It does to me.
So for me, I think about it like orgasm literally sets everything into order. Like it gets me calm, I'm relaxed, I want to go to sleep. I also I'm aligned.
Yeah.
I feel connected with my partner. And also I just feel at ease.
I just also like that creative force. Like if you're gonna do a dance and that dance can make life, then even if you don't make life, the dance itself is so powerful.
It's so powerful.
It's so creative. It's there's just so much energy there.
There's a lot of energy.
And I think that's why there's something about it that makes us feel alive. Like obviously we're walking around and we're alive all the time, but when you have that spark, when you have a really good sexual experience or sexual chemistry or sexual energy that's not even the sex, right? You feel more alive.
You feel awakened.
Are there sex doulas?
So there are people who are helping people with intimacy.
Like sexual surrogacy.
And I would say that there's definitely intimacy doulas.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's sex doulas who are like helping people to connect with their bodies.
Yeah. I would think that like also if you're a surrogate in some way, I do think that like I'm sure some of them have that energy or feels of being a doula in that way.
And I also think that like being a doula, because of birth and sex being like, so interwoven and so connected, that you naturally have a relationship with sex and intimacy because birth is intimate, and so you're encouraging that. I feel like so much of what I'm teaching people also is about connecting with their bodies and like tapping into pleasure and understanding what that is along the birthing continuum, because because if you have pleasure during the entire process before you give birth, things go so much smoother. Yeah, it's like even if it doesn't work out in the way that you had designed, the way that your body opens up, the way that you prepare for the process is dictated, and I would say modulated by how you navigate intimacy along the way, whether it's partnered or by yourself, like solo or with somebody. And a lot of people, by the way, not for nothing, there are people who once they get pregnant, they're like, I don't even want to be touched. I don't want my partner touching me. Like, I'm not interested. Like, what is that? Get it away. Right? There's that. And there's also people who are like, I cannot get enough. Right?
Touching.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So you have people who are on a spectrum, and a lot of folks think that like, oh, well, if I'm not interested in my partner, I can't really discover, like any sort of sexual pleasure. But this is a great time to then learn your body and the new changes in your body, even solo, because guess what? Your hips will never look like this again. Mm-hmm. Your breasts never look like this again. Mm-hmm. You have 40% more fluid in your body.
Your blood volume doubles.
Blood volume doubles nearly, right? And so because of that, everything's juicy, right? Exactly. And so you'd like literally get aroused like very easily as well. Yeah. So it's a good time.
It was a good time.
It was a good time, right?
I didn't get as horny as I was hoping. I'm not gonna lie. I kept on like waiting to get like super horny because I was like, oh, it's gonna happen.
In your mind.
Yes, and I think that if you're like looking for it, then it's like you're killing it.
Like a watch pot never boils, right?
Exactly. Except my pussy is what we're talking about now.
Exactly.
All right, what's one thing that you know that you can't believe everybody else doesn't know, or that you like need to scream from like all of your learnings?
Oh my God, this is so hard.
I know, I could have done that.
So many things.
Okay, different question.
Well, maybe like you could like categorize the area so I could answer it.
I think either in birthing.
Okay.
In birthing, what's like what is one thing that you feel like you can't believe people don't know still, or like, I don't know if you haven't done it yet.
Well, birth is that it's a rite of passage, that birth is a meditation, that it is an altered state of consciousness, that it is a trip, that it is literally you pulling on aspects of yourself, but also it is a dance with the universe, with God, right? It is a dance with the divine. Birth is like holy, it's sacred, it is transformative. And it's not just a clinical event. It's really not a clinical event at all. It's a sacred, and
I think it's like the definition of spiritual.
It is spiritual.
It's so spiritual. You're literally creating life. Like you are
giving rise to the next generation, right? And you got the sunshine between your thighs, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So bring life, right?
Bring life, bring joy. I feel like that is such a beautiful place to end.
Oh,
I know. That's our climax.
And I know, our climax. You guys, I love it. Our climax. Yes, Dame.
Dame.
Yes.
Mama Glow.
Which we love Dame, by the way. Everything.
Oh, thank you.
All the
Thank
things.
you. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you.
Yay.
Cool. Well, is there anything else you want listeners to know about? I feel...
Well, just go to mamaglow.com for resources, for information. We have a really great shared decision-making toolkit that we launched with Aetna that's available through our website. It's mamaglow.com/yourbirth, and it's an amazing digital resource that you can download. You can also print it, and it's a great thing for you to fill out and track your pregnancy and birth process with. And so we did it in partnership with Aetna, and it's a great tool. So check that out on mamaglow.com. If you want to be a doula or find a doula, you can contact us there as well.
Cool.
And yeah, go to anywhere where you get books and download Peaceful Parenting. It's an amazing resource. I want people to listen to it. We have some amazing birth meditations and affirmations on there too. So if you're
it's got both sides, but I'm excited about the parenting side right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do
She's
that.
gonna do the parenting
I'll do the parenting
meditation.
meditations. I'll let you know. Thank you
Yes.
guys so much. Have an awesome day.
Yay.